It'll be a contingency speech unless he shows up late in time to do his speech or before the second speaker is finished. Okay, well, if you do, put it in the chat that you'd like to give a speech in Rob's place if he's not here. Anyway, I want to welcome everybody to Online Presenters. The meeting will be recorded, and we can make exceptions if people don't want to have their speech or their speaking event broadcasted. We share the video within the group as member education. We want to thank Ring Central for providing the software that we use. And they are winning in the cloud. Remind everybody to use headsets or earbuds or noise canceling microphones. Mute your mic whenever it's not your turn to speak so we don't get any background noise coming across. You can also toggle your video and audio off, which is all in the lower left-hand corner. If you're going to do anything might be distracting within your video when somebody else is talking, turn your video off. It's a courtesy. Remember, there's two different ways of viewing the speakers, either in a gallery view or a speaker view, and you have control of that in the upper right-hand corner. If you're not using your own timing device to keep track of your time, which is a good idea, keep track of the timer. And so try to make sure you know where the timer is on the thing, and the timer usually tries to use an audible signal like a bell or a ringing sound as a cue. If you want to join the club, go to our website and click on the join, and that'll open up the information for you to fill out to indicate you want to join. And we typically require 6 speeches, and then you give a 1 to 2 minute table topics like speech during your second visit to the club. And now let's begin the meeting. Okay. Well, tonight's theme is telephones. So, does anybody know who the first person was to actually construct a telephone device? I'll give you a hint, it wasn't Alexander Graham Bell or Thomas Edison. It was Antonio Meucci in 1854 constructed a telephone-like device that transmitted voice over electrical wires. And Alexander Graham Bell came later. Yeah, let's see. Grab back to this, and I'm using one screen tonight. So does anybody want to be the grammarian tonight? We got a word of the day. It's posted in the chat. It's heuristic.
Chris is waving her hands over there.
What's that?
Will be grammarian.
Who's that?
Chris and Jim.
Oh, okay, good, Chris. Okay, so we'll move along. Let me introduce the functionaries to you. Counter Lou Brown, you want to tell us what you're going to do?
Yes, sir, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. As a counter, I will be looking for use of clutch words like that's sort of a combination I did there, right? It's like and double starts, etc. Anything that kind of isn't necessary for your speech or table topics. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you. And Lou Brown, you want to tell us what you'll be doing as counter?
Sure, I'll be happy to do that once more. Would you like me to do it
Oh,
again?
no, I'm sorry. Timer. Roger Fun. You got
Yes,
broken
I am
record.
the timer. I've checked with two of our speakers today. It's 5 to 7 minutes. I will be giving the time, and we'll be changing the timer in terms of looking at the flag like this, green and yellow and red. I will be also giving an audio just in case you don't see me. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. And our grammarian is going to be Chris Gould, right? Tell us what you're going to be doing.
I'll be listening for good use of language and give a report at the end of lively language. And if I hear any mistakes, we'll mention those too.
Okay, and you got the word of the day. It's in the chat, right?
Today is heuristic, meaning
It's
argument.
heuristic. And our watcher is David Carr tonight. Please explain that.
Well, while Chris is listening, I will be watching. I'll be watching not only for your body language, but for the use of any on-screen visuals that you might do, whether they dazzle us or distract us. You'll get a report at the end. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. And Dagmar is our vote counter tonight.
Yes, I'm the vote counter today, so I will be counting your vote. Please send them to me at the end of the meeting. I will give you the report. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
And now our chat monitor, Adrian.
It is my job to monitor the chat and give you the hot topics of tonight. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. Let's move on to our speakers. Rod Moore is still not here. Rob, is he? I didn't see him pop in. So we'll start off with Sunny. And I've got her introduction. Unless Rachel has it too. Do you have her introduction, Rachel? Okay. Do you have her evaluation? You're able to evaluate her? Okay, Sunny's speech tonight is from the Speaking to Inform Advanced Manual, and it's speech number 3, the demonstration talk. Her introduction is, have you ever signed up for an odd counter, grammarian, or timer roll and wanted a better way to take notes? Well, there's an app for that. Toastmaster Sunny Fridge will be speaking from the Advanced Communication Series, Speaking to Inform. The demonstration talk, the purpose of this talk is for the speaker to present a demonstration of 5 to 7 minutes on a process, product, or activity. Sunny will give a live demonstration of the benefits of using the Toastmasters International app. So our first speaker is Sunny Fridge. There's an app for that. There's an app for that. Sunny Fridge.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day, and hello, everyone. Hope you're having a great night. Curious, how many of you have ever been called on at the last minute for a role, and you find yourself writing on a scrap of paper or on the agenda? Raise your hand if you've ever done that. Okay, I see a few hands, and I can relate. Today, I want to talk to you about the Toastmasters International app. Raise your hand, actually, if you have downloaded it yet. Has anyone downloaded the International Toastmasters app? Okay, I see Jim Dent has. He's one of a few, probably. What I want to do is tell you about it and how it can help you. It's the first official app designed to help you and me become more effective at our roles. I'm going to take advantage of using a tool called Reflector. Share my screen. And this is the International Toastmasters app. Today I'm going to demonstrate for you how you can be more effective in the Toastmaster role using technology. I'm going to first explain some of the details of it. The Toastmasters International mobile app can be downloaded to your smartphone via Google Play if you have an Android, or the App Store if you have an iPhone. The app features a built-in eye counter that has filler words, as you can see there, and it allows you to hit the bell every time someone makes a mistake. There is also a grammarian function that keeps track of the word of the day, and I'll show you in a moment how you can also write comments about the speaker. And the app features an easy-to-use timer and a history section to help track your progress. So today I want to first take you through the settings. And in the settings, there is an audio option so that if you don't want to hear the bell, you can also put the phone on mute for those who feel they may be distracted. You can also add filler words. If you are an officer of a club, you can add words. For instance, I'm going to add, you know, that's a word that I know some people commonly use, so I'll add that, and when I go back to the screen, you'll see it right there. We also have the timer. When you go into the app, it can either display the time while running, which will also be able to show milliseconds. So when you have a speaker and you play, it shows the milliseconds. Pretty much this is helpful when you have contests, or if you just want to test yourself. I once was disqualified because I went a breath over because they were using the milliseconds button. So it's something that's interesting that you might be able to use. The history will show once your VPE has approved whatever your evaluator has put into the app. And now what I will do is give a regular demonstration. So for the eye counter, the way you would find your member, and I'm using my club, one of my home clubs, and I'm going to just put Donald Rhodes there. Then I select the speech type. There are prepared speeches, extended speeches, table topic speeches, and so I'm going to put prepared speech. And then if Donald was the person, I would be giving him I would be hitting him up every time he made an ah sound. I'm going to go back to settings and take off mute and put my bell back in place. You can see how easy it is to use. And then you know, Donald can kind of hear that he is saying a filler word or a phrase. Then you always want to save and continue. If you're the grammarian, you're able to put in the word of the day, which I wonder if I could spell. Could someone spell that word for me? Was it eristic? E-R?
E-R-I-S-T-I-C.
Oh, okay. So there's no D in there. E-R.
There's no
Okay.
D.
All right.
S-T-I-C.
S. Okay. I see. And if your person uses it, you can put that there. And then you can also mention whether or not they had an interesting use of a phrase or a quote. So I'm going to say that Donald Rhodes had an interesting use of today's word of the day, word of the day. And you save it there. I go back and finally, timer. Again, you select a member. I think right now I'm going to switch clubs. What I did not tell you is that if you belong to several clubs, it lists it. So you can go ahead and pick online communicators. And then when I go to timer, I will look to see a member for today. I'll pick a, and if table topic, we know that it's 1 to 2 minutes. The way you hit the timer is once you're ready to start, you hit the button. And then when Adrian is finished, you would hit the pause. And then again, you would save. And basically, I feel like this is pretty interesting. This is a good app if you want to help a person see whether or not they've been going over in time, whether or not they've been using filler words from time to time a little bit too much, and it's good for that. I want to show you now the history. Again, if you are the speaker, you won't see it until your Vice President of Education has approved you. But if you're the club member or the person who was doing it, you can see here that Adrienne was playing around with it. I used Adrienne, and I said I loved her analogy and her phone story on the word of the day or the theme, telephone. And as I scrolled down again, I was playing with it a little bit. Someone went 2:05. The table topics was 2 minutes. And Rod Moore, again, these are all our members. And so it's pretty interesting. And I remember that there was the saying by Theodore Roosevelt who said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And what I'm hoping, fellow club members, is that we do what we can with what we have, with the resources, even if it's technology. And yes, technology can fail you, so you may wish to have a paper template with you as well. But this is something that could possibly help us when you decide that it's easy enough to do and you get used to it. So again, may we use what we have where we are and become more effective communicators. Mr. Toastmaster, back to you. And I know you're waiting for me.
Yeah, you need to unshare your screen.
All righty. Here we go. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay. Our next speaker is Ryan Demchuk. And he's giving the level 2 speech from Effective Coaching on understanding your communication style. Ryan will be presenting a speech on communication styles. This is project 2 under level 2 in the Effective Coaching, understanding your communication style. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share the impact of his or her style on others. Ryan's personal objective is to not look down or around during the transitions, to be continuously engaged with the audience, and basically having a series of one-on-one conversations. The timing is 5 to 7 minutes. So our next speaker is Ryan Demchuk, $1 Million Ability, Ryan Demchuk.
I finally discovered the missing ability, the missing link that I've been missing my entire life, and that has hindered me in my effective communication attempts. Fellow Toastmasters, would you like to find out what that discovery is? A few years ago, I joined Toastmasters, and shortly after joining Toastmasters, I had realized the importance of effective communication. So much so that it was a building block to becoming a good speaker. So what I did was I directed all my attentions and my studies to the art of effective communication. And once I had discovered the abilities required to effective communication, I learned that the ability to connect with people was one of the most important skills that you could obtain to be able to effectively communicate. I think Sunny might appreciate this. The book from John C. Maxwell, Everyone Communicates, but Few Connect. And after discovering this ability of connecting with people, I decided to focus in more on that. Because if you can effectively communicate with somebody, you have to be able to connect with them. So now, armed with this new information, I started to hone my studies more and more into the art of connecting. And what I discovered was quite fascinating. It was basically the missing link that I had been missing my entire life to being able to effectively communicate. So a little side story. I'd taken the Toastmasters assessment and discovered that my speaking style was direct and initiating, but mainly direct. Now, the speaking style has been responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales for me and my company over the years. Back when I owned my own company, this communication style, again, had made me hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I always had a trouble cracking that $1 million mark with these projects. And I can always remember this fateful day where back to back, client after client, everybody had canceled their projects on me. I went from a full season of sold out work to absolutely no work within 1 week. This is pretty devastating to me. But luckily there was this one project that I'd been kind of dodging, mainly because it was out of my scope. I had a lot of success selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work, but those $1 million projects, I could never quite figure out, I could never quite land. But this time I was in a position where I had to deliver because I had no other work and I had to go in for this consultation. This consultation was different. Normally I go in with my direct communicating style. I take charge, I do the majority of the speaking, and I own the meeting. But because I just lost the week before tons and tons of work, I was basically humbled. And I was also nervous going into this consultation. So by accident, I tried a different method. I didn't say a lot. I listened very well. And I let the client do the majority of the talking. So the consultation ended, we shook hands. So I knew that I'd failed another attempt at one of those $1 million projects and that my communication style wasn't quite where it needed to be, especially since I didn't say anything. But then I got this call that week, and it was the project manager telling me that he had awarded me my first $1 million project. And what was totally crazy about this was that I never said anything. I never did this. I just used this. Now you see that what I discovered after putting these two things together, my studies and this specific situation, I discovered that my communication style, even though it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, had a weakness. Because my communication style has me speaking more and talking more than I listen. So this really hindered my abilities to be able to connect with these people to land these projects. The lack of listening was basically worth millions of dollars to me. This one key essential ability. So if you're wondering what that key essential ability was, it was the ability to be able to connect with people through the art of listening. So I'd like to encourage you all today to really dig deep into the art of listening, because it was literally worth $1 million to me. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. At this time, please vote for the best speaker and send your votes to Dagmara privately in the chat window. Okay, while you're doing that, another little trivia about telephones is there were several people that claimed they invented the telephone and patented it, but the patents were all under dispute, from Antonio Musi in 1854 to Thomas Edison later on. But the only two people that were actually awarded the proper patent for the telephone was Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison. And that was because their patent included a commercial application for the telephone, widespread commercial to be used for communications across the world. So their patent is what stood, and the other patents were ignored because they were not patented for commercial use. One of the interesting things is Alexander Graham Bell was the first one to file a U.S. patent, and Thomas Edison patented the telephone, but his telephone used a new carbon microphone, which gave much clearer voice and transmission quality of the voice and sound. So his patent became legitimate also because it was a vast improvement to the telephone that Alexander Graham Bell had. So we'll now move on to our table topics. And our table topics master tonight is Ben. And this is Ben. There he is. Ben, you go ahead. You're the table topics master.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let's give Jimmy a big hand, everybody. Thank you. So, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. Today's table topic is all about dreams. Quick show of hands, how many of you have dreams? I hope everybody, right? As we know, everything starts with a dream, right? We turn that dream into a goal, into a plan, into action, and hopefully it becomes reality right after. So today's questions are very simple, but I want you to think creatively about the answer so you really draw us into your story. Okay, so the first question is, if you could choose a dream car, what would it be and why? Again, if you could choose a dream car, what would it be and why? And the first question goes to Adrienne.
I don't even have to think twice about this one. It would be definitely the convertible Bentley. There is no other car that you would get if you could afford to have that. And I mean, I would always have the top down, even if it was raining. I mean, it was drizzling. You know how normally you would stop and put your top up? I wouldn't. The rain would be coming down ever so lightly, and I would just be brushing my hair, making it flat with the water from the rain, because I want everybody to see me driving this car right here in Miami on South Beach. Yes, hanging out. My music is loud. I'm checking out the dudes. I can actually flirt with anybody I want now because I am in the car they want. So I won't be intimidated to pull up next to the guy who really want to meet in the Ferrari. I would quickly stop to him and say, "Excuse me, your car or mine?" And then we would definitely make a date just like that. It would be amazing, fascinating, because key player, D Wade, Gabrielle Union, look, you can both ride. I want to be on the team. How do I get on the club list that you can't pay to get in? That would be what I would be working towards. Social acceptance. Because I have the Bentley, I would never, ever park the car myself. Are you kidding me? Valet it is. $50, no problem. Add it to my tab because everybody knows Miss Adrienne, the diva, is here and on her way in this Bentley. Of course, it would be candy apple red because my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, red and white. Of course, I would be wearing it out. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Adrienne. Terrific, terrific. The second question is, if you could live in a dream city that you would always want to live in, so probably maybe in another city than you're living in right now, what would it be and why? And this second question goes to Rachel. Let's give her a big hand.
I would live in Rome because I like to go treasure hunting, and I know that there's treasures to be found in Rome that haven't been discovered yet. So I would get out my map and I would just go around the city and I would find hidden treasures and relics in walls, underneath, in the coves. And I would also like to visit every single church in Rome. So I know there are a lot, and so it would take me a lot of time, and I would just walk around and in my robe, because everybody needs to have a robe in Rome. It's cloaked in secrecy, and that's what I would do. And there's just something about the book Angels and Demons that makes me want do that. And I don't know if anybody else has read that book, but I have. I've read the Da Vinci Code, and all of that makes me just want to go to Rome and be a treasure hunter and break codes and save the world. So that's what I would do.
Superb. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, I got a quick question here from Ryan, right? So the time you get for table topics, sorry, I forgot to mention it at the beginning. The maximum is 2.5 minutes. Yeah, so 1:30 green, 2 is yellow, and 2:30 is red. Yeah, great question. Thank you, Ryan. Our third question is, what would be a dream house and what would it look like? And this question goes to Jim, and I mean the Jim, I think Jim Galt, is that correct? From Jim and Chris? Yeah, that goes to Jim. Let's give him a big hand.
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, if I were to have a dream house, well, it would probably be on the Croatian Riviera, sort of like Miramare. It would have at least a dozen rooms with, a couple of huge pools and hot tubs. And I would have an entourage of people working for me. Nah, I'm just kidding. Now, the best house for me is the one that's right here with us. I can even turn the screen and you can see it right here. This is our RV. This is the way that we travel. This is our house. It doesn't get any better than this, because everything that we need is with us right here. We spent the last couple of days boondocking. That means camping without any hookups. We didn't have electricity and we didn't have water, but we were out in the desert and we could see the Perseid meteor shower. It was gorgeous last night. So you can have all of those beautiful brick and mortar houses. Give me an RV. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Jim. Freedom lifestyle, very nice. Our next question is a little different. I have to explain a little bit more. What would be a dream item that you would love to own? So imagine you had all the money in the world and you could buy anything. What would be a very, very unique item? So for me, probably if I had unlimited funds, I would want to own the original Iron Man suit, which I think is around $1 million. Robert Downey Jr. asked the studio to give it to him for free. Well, I guess he didn't feel he got paid enough, but anyway. So that would be an item for me. What would be your unique item? It can be very expensive or inexpensive, it doesn't matter, but what would it be? And this question goes to Dagmara. Let's give her a big
Hello, Toastmasters. My dream item would be a little bit of a science fiction item, so I'm really happy that I can just come up with anything. I would say without any hesitation that it would be a teleport, because I just live at the end of the world, so far away from my family and so far away from the family of my husband. So if I could just, use this teleport to go there and visit them and take them, bring them here, that would be the best thing I can just think of. I'm entering this age when I'm having kids, having family, and I really want them to enjoy all the good and bad things about parenthood with me. It's sometimes very hard, and I love Skype. We also use Zoom, but it's not the same thing. So I really hope like Elon Musk will do something about this. I'm waiting for his hyperloop trains, or maybe Chinese will do something with their super speed train. I'm waiting for that. But if I can come up with something really crazy, that would be something that just bring me to my family or bring them here so we can just be reunited. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dagmara. Thank you. Jimmy, do we have time for one more? Jimmy, do we have time for one more table topic speaker? Or
Yes, I think one more.
one more? Okay, thank you. Great, great. So the final question is, what would be your dream vacation? And please make it unique, okay? The final question goes to Claudio. Let's give Claudio a big hand.
Hi, Toastmasters. Maybe an interesting trip to New Zealand. I have been in New Zealand a lot of years ago, and it's an amazing place. And it's unique in the world. You have everything of nature in two islands. And I'd like the people to see the people how evolving this culture and how can I learn with them. There are a lot of beautiful beaches, and that's it. I love New Zealand, and I'd like to visit again and have a good trip back to New Zealand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudio. Yeah, very nice country, for sure. Very nice. Can we have the timers report, please? Roger. I think
the times have been posted. Everyone except Claudio qualified.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Let's give him a big hand. Thank you. Yeah. Then everybody, please vote for your best tabletop speaker, and please send the vote privately to Dagmara. Yeah, back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Hey, thank you. Okay, a little more trivia about telephones. In 2002, the Canadian Parliamentary Committee decided to recognize Mucci for his contributions in the invention and development of the telephone. However, the U.S. Senate labeled his contributions as political rhetoric and decided not to recognize Mucci for the development of the telephone. And now we're going to move on to our evaluators. And our first evaluator, since our first speaker was not here, let's see, find the evaluators. Here we go. Our first evaluator will be Rachel, which will be evaluating Sunny's speech. Is that correct? Rachel?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Sunny Fridge, the demo talk from the Advanced Communication Series, Speaking to Inform. I loved the title. Toastmasters International, there's an app for that. That completely engaged me from the beginning and from the get-go. I didn't even know there was an app, and I feel like I'm pretty educated on Toastmasters, but this was a whole learning experience for me, so thank you for that. Great use of the introduction as the group. You asked a question, which engaged the audience right off the bat, and that is a really great way to get your audience engaged. Especially when you're online, you need to get their attention quick so you keep their attention. And so great job with that. I had never heard of the app, so I was glad to learn something. And I really enjoyed how you told us what you were going to do, and then you did it, and at the end you wrapped it up. So I think that really, for me, I was able to follow that, and I knew what to expect so that I knew when I needed to pay attention. Great use of your demo and your visual aid. I could tell that you probably had practiced this beforehand because it was flawless as well as it could be. The one thing I did find distracting was the background. So I really wanted to kind of move the app over and look at that beautiful house and the pool, and then it got me thinking to a vacation. So it was a little distracting there. But beautiful background. My only feedback for you on that would be to have a plain background, especially if you're going to be presenting to this in a large group of people, you might lose them looking at the background behind the app. I liked how you added the history, your own personal history to it. So you said, this is a great app because it went down to the millisecond and I had gone over on a speech. So you really brought that personalization into it. So great job. You were very explicit. You were very detailed. I would have liked for you to maybe show how to download that. Or if you're going to use this in a group setting in a brick and mortar, I would encourage you to have them download that before or during the beginning of your speech so that you can walk through this together with them. More hands-on. Love the quote at the end. Very good incorporation of that because it was a good way to wrap everything up and close it. Good use of your screen space. Nice background. Your voice was pleasant. Your tone was great. Great vocal variety. And you clearly explained everything through this demonstration. Very well done. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Our next evaluator is Jim Barber, who is evaluating Ryan's speech.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My fellow Toastmasters, and especially, of course, Toastmaster Ryan Demchek. The purpose of Ryan's speech was to share the impact of having solid speaking skills with others. And he's delivered a personal presentation that said how he personally has benefited by having solid speaking skills. It literally put money in his pocket. And that was something that I think everybody here could relate to. Very well done. That was the purpose of his speech. The goal of his speech, he wrote, was to have a one-on-one conversation with us. He wanted to not so much speak to us as talk to us and engage us in conversation. And Ryan, congratulations, you did that also. You had great eye contact. You were looking at everybody. Of course, you were looking through the camera, but you did that very, very well. You have good video presence. That worked extremely well also. You specifically said that you didn't want to look down during transitions, which is obvious on video. It's more obvious and distracting on video, and you didn't do that. You maintained your video presence with the camera throughout the entire time. That was terrific. In the line of having conversations, I have a couple of suggestions for you. One, your vocal presentation was very good. It was measured, it was clear, but it sounded a little prepared. And conversation doesn't do that. Conversation tends to speed up a little bit in places, and occasionally you hesitate where you're looking for a word or something like that. So I would suggest, to be conversational, that you sound a little less prepared in your presentation. The other thing is you closed with "thank you for listening." And I doubt that you closed very many conversations with "thank you for conversing with me." And I would so I would suggest that you not do that here as well. We're the ones that should be thanking you. You don't have to thank us. But this was a great presentation and a wonderful testimonial to Toastmasters. Great job. Looking forward to your next one. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, now I'd like to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator, Adrian, which will introduce our functionaries with their reports and give an overall evaluation of our meeting. Adrian? Well, and vote for the best evaluator, by the way, too. Send your votes to Dagmara. Go ahead, Adrian.
Okay, perfect. I thought we did a great meeting today. As far as our evaluators, Rachel, some of the things that you could have done is you could have addressed Sunny's time in your evaluation and how she could have allocated her message, her speech through the different sections. such as 1 to 2 minutes for your opening, so many minutes for your points, and then leave 1 or 2 minutes for your close if you're only having 5 to 6 minutes to do a speech. As far as Jim and your evaluation, I thought you could have addressed Brian's body movement. He could have incorporated some body language in his speech, or some type of brought some energy to his speech. And that would have helped us. That's how you could have helped him, and give him a few examples of how he could have done that. The table topic segment of the meeting, I enjoyed it. It was diverse. People were engaged. Everyone answered a question. They didn't pass or get intimidated. They just went forward and did a response, and that was good. I thought the questions were broad. It was a broad range, and I like that. It gives us more to think about when the questions are all over the place. Because when they're in one particular topic and we're just going to the next topic, as speakers, we already know how to prepare our speech to respond, and that defeats the point of being impromptu. So I really appreciated how you put your time in to really get good questions for table topics. In the future, it would be nice to see that if we only have 2 speakers, to have someone step up and do a speech. It doesn't matter how good or bad it is, but it will be one more speech toward your goal, and the club can use the credits for speeches. So that would be something I would encourage you to do. So at least sign up as a backup speaker, and that includes myself, that I can also take up a role to speak. So I'll do that as well. People were engaged in the meeting, and since I am also a chat monitor, I will give you that report as well. Toastmasters in our club love the demo for the Toastmasters app. They didn't know it existed, some of them. Some of them felt that it would take a little bit more time and slow them down while using the app during the meeting. And Ryan talked about how, thank you for giving him the opportunity to speak, because it was a very different experience online than it is in the club. And there's a comment about wanting to teleport ourselves to go to different places. And for those of you who have antiquated cell phones, they said it is better for you to upgrade to a smartphone than to try to find an app to increase your camera or your speed on your current phone. So take advantage of some of the deals and upgrade your cell phone. At this time, I would like the grammarian's report, please.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, I am not going to be heuristic here. I appreciated everybody's lively language, and that is what I will mention. There was only one person who did use heuristic, the word of the day, and that was Sunny, in talking about how you can put the word of the day into the app. Sunny's, there is an app for that. I think that was great language. And I was also appreciated being reminded about that app. Do what you can with what you have where you are. I know she was quoting somebody else, but I loved that language. Ryan had some great phrases. Communications equals connecting with people. Own the meeting. I like that one. By accident, I tried a different method. Connecting through the art of listening. The art of listening worth $1 million. Great phrase. Adrian, convertible Bentley. I did not know there was such a thing. Your car or mine. And Miss Adrian, the diva is here. Very lively language. Rachel, in talking about her dream city, she wants to be a treasure hunter, break codes, and save the world. What better goal can there be? And Jim, I was impressed that he remembered the name of this castle on the Croatian coast, Miramare. But give me an RV. Yes. And Dagmara, teleporting. Elon Musk, make it happen. Let's see. Rachel, engaged from the get-go. And Jim Barber, I liked your phrase about good video presence, and in talking about somebody's improvements is a testimonial to Toastmasters. I think we all are a testimonial to Toastmasters. I'm so glad to have heard all your phraseology tonight. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. And we would like to hear it from our odd counter next, please.
Sure thing, Madam General Evaluator. For Rachel, who did have 2 parts to her speaking thing tonight, though, eval and table topics, I believe it was. 2 double starts, 3 ands, and a number of ums. That was really probably the most egregious violation. Sorry if that word is too negative, but you may have caught most of them yourselves. Jim Barber, I did not hear any clutch words. Great job. Jim Gold, I heard a couple of ahs and a double start. Chris, I heard 1 double start near the end of your speech. Almost got it there. Dagmar, I heard 3 ums. Ryan, a so, and you have 1 but. I always giggle when I say that. You have 1 but. Claudio, I heard none from you. And Sonny, I did hear 1 double start. However, I was so enamored with your speech, both you and Ryan, I will say that. I was paying attention to the speeches so much that I really didn't take adequate notes on ums and ers, so I apologize to both of you. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. And our monitor, please.
You mean watcher?
Our watcher?
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Well, I wanted to give a shout out to Sonny. I know Sonny's just been experimenting with and learning how to use the screen sharing software these last couple of times, but she did something that I was impressed by. Instead of just using slides, she had some kind of cell phone simulator program. So I think she went through some trouble of getting that set up and working right before the presentation. And it was effective at showing what was going on the phone without trying to hold up your cell phone in front of the screen, which is a little bit awkward, although Chris Gold could give you lessons on how to do it right. I thought I'd also say a word about backgrounds. Now, this is people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones thing, because if I had my act together, I would at least slide the door shut on the closet back there. What if I had my act a little bit more together? I would have a plain green background in front of me. I've got this thing that clips to the back of the seat that I use sometimes for green screen and other things. So probably a good background is either a plain background. I see Ben, Lois, and Scott all have a very plain background that they've set up. You're not always in a situation where you can rearrange your whole office around just being ready for this club meeting. I mean, however, if you're doing stuff professionally, you might want to move in that direction of thinking about your background. Sonny found a closet that she's sitting in front of that is reasonably tame and quiet. Jim Barber has a nice professional office background behind him, and so is Dagmara. And Ryan, I was just noticing some of the things up on the background of the kitchen were slight distractions. But again, I know you're traveling, so sometimes you have to live off the land and do the best you can in your circumstances. And of course, the natural outdoors behind the Gulbs is fabulous. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. And our timer, please.
Everyone done very well in terms of keeping in time. Couple of comments. Number one, for our table topic speakers, try not to hit just the minimum time. Try to use your time as much as you can for a fuller answer. And number two, on all of our evaluators, watch your time in terms of what's the most important or second most important things that you want to share, so that others will also have enough time to share. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Okay, thank you so much. That's going to wrap up my segment. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Adrian. And, I want to remind everybody to, if you haven't signed up for a role for next week, please go onto the website and sign up for a role. I haven't looked to see who the Toastmaster is yet, if we have somebody signed up. But just remember to sign up for roles in advance so that we have all the meeting roles filled up by the time we get to the meeting. Does anybody have any special announcements they'd like to make?
Winners, please.
Ah, yes. Who's the winners? Who's our
I would like to.
Dagmar?
I have a special
Who's the winner?
announcement. Yeah, I would like to tell you who is the winner, are the winners of today's meeting. So first, Sunny unfortunately didn't qualify. So Ryan, I believe he's the winner of prepared speeches. Congratulations. For the table topics, Adrienne, congratulations, you are amazing. And for evaluations, Jim. So congratulations to everyone again. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster today.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for forgetting about the votes. Does anybody have any special announcements they'd like to make there to the members?
I do.
Sonny, go ahead.
When I found out the theme was telephones, I wanted to break out something from like 30 years ago when I worked at Sports Illustrated. Does anybody ever remember this? This is a phone, and it actually works. And I've had this for over 30 years, and so it reminded me of Get Smart, that television series for those of you in the United States. But I just thought this was just so cool. It's a sneaker phone, of course, but it actually does work. So I wanted to share that since today's theme was telephones.
But Sonny, I want to know, do you have that football phone?
No, I never got the football phone.
Or the Barbie phone.
Back to you, Mr. Sisman.
Jimmy, we probably should mention for anybody who didn't see the email that we are in the market for a new Vice President of Education. Yes. We have to backfill. John Tavorik had been trying to keep up with the duties. He'd been doing a pretty good job sort of by remote control, but he was tied up with work and very busy and had missed all our meetings for a couple of months, actually. And he finally conceded that it just wasn't going to get any better. Well, I mean, apparently his business is going great guns, so congratulations to him. But we do need to figure out a way of backfilling. Ryan said something about being interested in helping out. I don't know whether we want to make him VP of Education when he's just getting started here, but if we can figure out a way of juggling things around, we're going to stay on for a board meeting after this meeting. If people want to discuss anything with us or volunteer now, let us know.
Jimmy, did you get anybody that said they wanted to be a VPE?
Not yet. Lou's got his hand up, though.
Lou!
No, not
Lou,
for that. Sorry.
hand up for it.
But unfortunately, my business is not doing as well as what sounds like Jim's and probably even, John's and Ryan's is doing. So I have to put in more time for that. When I hit the $200,000 mark, I'm not aiming for the million just yet. So then I'll be ready for for VPE or anything else. However, I did have an announcement. The convention is next week. I don't know who here will be attending, and if so, if you will be flying in earlier than the official start date, which is the 22nd, meaning if you will not be at this meeting, which I won't be, and possibly some others will, just to put the message out there for the other folks that if, whether or not there'll be a full boat of people for the meeting.
I'm going Tuesday.
Looks like Jim's going too.
Did we get our votes to someone who's going to be there? Did we send our proxies?
That's me, yes. And from what I understand, I'm going to go with my gut since nobody kind of knows, except maybe for one particular office. which I guess we can say because she's in our club. But other than that, I'll go with whoever sounds like the best candidate for the other offices. Unless anyone has a preference for anything in particular. Hearing none?
Yeah, sometimes you find out more about the candidates while you're there at the convention than you can prior to the convention.
Right.
Well, have fun and report back.
Definitely my first one. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, whoever goes will have great topics to give speeches about when they get back. Personal experiences and adventures.
This is
So
Adrian.
if that's all we have, just keep in mind that we are accepting nominations or volunteers for the VP of E. So we can get a slate together and vote for a new VPE. So if you are interested, let us know. Send me an email or through the website or whatever, and we'll put you on the list. And we are going to have an officers meeting right after this. So if the officers can stick around, we're going to have a short officers meeting to cover a few business things we need to discuss. So other than that, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Had a great meeting, and we'll see everybody next week, the ones that can be at the meeting.